Good evening, Denise.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Nice to see you. First of all, I'm very glad we meet each other 2-3 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So for people who didn't know about Homeopathy Help Now, I would like you to tell a few words about this organization, this nice movement, very important movement of homeopathy, and how we meet, please.
Yeah. Sure. I like to think of myself as the birth mother for Homeopathy Help Now, but I didn't know I was pregnant. It was one day this whole movement was born, and it really came out of necessity. COVID-19 came about. There were so many people who needed help in my own practice and in the communities that I serve, and I couldn't handle all of the people who were sick. And so I reached out to respected colleagues and to a group of homeopathy students, and we were able to put together this helpline. And we put it together with the intention that it would be a system that could be replicated throughout the world. So once it's done, nobody should have to do the same work twice. And it was through our, all of us having our mutual affiliation with Jeremy Scher and the folks involved with Dynamis that we all met 3 or 4 months ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Tell me, please, few words, how you became a homeopath.
I actually was going to study clinical psychology research, and I was to start a PhD. And in 1992, so this is a long time ago, in 1992, I was to start my studies in that, and I met someone who was a psychologist, and I was explaining to her that what I wanted to study was the intersection between the physical body and mental and emotional suffering. So if your body gets sick, something happens and your mind is different, your emotions are different, or vice versa. People who have mental and emotional disruption, they also have physical symptoms. And she said to me, you're never going to be able to do that in the psychology world. She said, have you heard of homeopathy? And I hadn't, and that was it. I never went to the program. I started to study homeopathy and never looked back.
So, hello?
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, so you started to be interested in it.
I did, and so back then there weren't very many homeopathy schools. I was doing some distance learning. That wasn't really right for me. I wanted to be around people who were interested in homeopathy. I was studying in a program in New York City that was an offshoot of Misha Norland's program in the UK. And then I started all over again and went to a school in Minnesota in the United States and studied there and practiced there for 5 years. But interestingly, I met Jeremy Scher when I had first started to study homeopathy, and he was doing these master clinics in New York, and all of these homeopaths were there, and I was just a student, and I would sit there in the back, not saying a word and listening and not really knowing what they were talking about, but knowing that whatever he was saying, it made sense to me. Like intellectually, I didn't have the tools. I didn't know all the language of a homeopath, but he spoke with such truth that it just resonated. And so I knew that I had to study with Jeremy. And so I feel like my foundation studies were just getting me ready to study with him. So as soon as I was finishing my foundation studies, I reached out to him. I said, you have to come and do a Dynamis here in the United States. And so we got Jeremy to come in 2004. And so from 2004 to 2007, we had a Dynamis here in the United States, and our proving was wild rice.
So you were involved in provings as well?
Yeah. I've done.
What is your experience of being a prover and maybe some other tasks during provings you made?
Yeah, so I've been a prover, I've been a supervisor, but the proving that I did with Jeremy actually was the last proving that I did. And now that was in 2007, so it's 13 years ago. And I think I'm still getting over it. it really, I've done other provings that were, you know, you have some discomfort or you just experience things or, you know, you feel sick for a couple of days, but this one knocked me out. I actually wound up in the emergency room. And so did Jeremy. Yeah, and Jeremy did as well. And it happened at the same time. So my supervisor called Jeremy to say, hey, you know, Denise is, I thought I was having a heart attack. And at the time, this was 13 years ago. So I was 41 years old. I was not a candidate for a heart attack. And I was really in distress. So my supervisor called Jeremy and Camilla answered and said, yeah, having the same. So, and another person as well. So within just a couple of days, 3 of us experienced incredibly distressing cardiac symptoms.
Wow.
Not, yeah, I mean, otherwise the provings are great.
Yes. And first of all, what you proved then?
Wild rice.
Sorry?
Wild rice.
Wow.
And I'll tell you another funny story. So when we were doing this proving, you know, it was a triple blind proving. So Jeremy had sent a few substances to John Morgan at Helios. Okay, you know, you'll run these up and just send us, you know, one of them. We won't know what it is. Well, we all had to give consent that it might be a radioactive. And the proving was so difficult that we were all convinced it had to have been a radioactive. You know, this is at the time when he was going through the noble gases, and we thought, okay, it's got to be radon. You know, we're feeling so sick. People had dreams of the apocalypse, and it was really, yeah, it was really tough. And then it turns out it was rice. But interestingly, you know,
simple, white, small.
Yeah.
Right.
This was wild rice, so it's brown. I actually have a
brown.
jar.
Sorry,
I
brown.
have a jar of it sitting on my shelf. I'll show you. So,
wow. Here it is, brown rice, simple
yeah,
one.
that's it. So one of my friends went and harvested the rice. And so we, our dynamics group was meeting in Minnesota, which for people in other countries, it's in the middle of the United States toward the top. And wild rice is harvested there. And it's the last crop that the Native Americans still harvested. I might be saying that incorrectly, but it was, anyway, during the time of our proving, the university there in Minnesota actually started producing genetically modified wild rice. So I wondered, right, if some of that, what we experienced was also the energy of, you know, the indigenous people having been robbed of the last bit of what was, you know, a part of their heritage.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's so strong picture. No, it's not a joke to find yourself in an emergency room.
Yeah.
And now, a few years after, I would like to ask you, it's not a good promotion to invite to proving to show this minutes of interview. So what you can say to new provers to come?
Actually, I have to say though that is the only time I've really experienced something quite like that. I think about provings as being a way that we experience a completely different way of seeing the world. And I also think provings are healing to us. And so I wonder if some of the very strong symptoms that I had in doing that proving were actually curative to me. I was able to experience it on an energetic level, not on a pathophysiological level. And it's not like I have ongoing symptoms from it. You know, it took a while for me to come through it, but I wonder if it just sped up a process that maybe now, you know, 13 years later, or maybe 25 years later, I won't experience something because I had that energetic experience.
So you was treated. It's actually, we call it proving therapy. And we even call it collective proving therapy.
Yeah.
It's so nice. But another question arises. If you do such proving today with your knowledge, I mean, previous one, but with your knowledge and with your experience, what you can do to prevent such strong reactions?
You know, I don't know, because I had done a few provings before that. And of course, Jeremy had done, you know, however many dozens of provings before that time. I think it's about our susceptibility, you know, and it's, you know, it's the shamanic part of homeopathy, right? It's what, and when you go into some shamanic exercise, it's not all like going to the circus or going to a picnic. You know, sometimes you do have to go through the dark, scary things to come out the other side. And so I guess when I think about it now, I felt like I was prepared because our group was very supportive. My supervisor was there. I knew, I mean, I think if ever you feel scared enough to go to hospital, okay, there's definitely fear there, but there was also a knowing that it may very well just be energetic disease. And so then you learn something so powerful, not just about how a proving teaches you through energetic disease, but how energetic medicine works. And I think that's aligned with what you're trying to discover with this proving, right? If we're just talking about energy and frequencies, well, we need to test it out to see if it works in a way that we haven't really considered before.
Yeah. First of all, this is the reason. In few words, if you mention it, I would say that at the 11th July, we are going to conduct first ever international online proving of digital homeopathic remedies. What is interesting is that during our work on Homeopathy Help Now, free of charge line for helping people by homeopathy all around the world, we found ourselves in situations where we know the remedy would help people, a person in such specific case, but we have no any possibility to supply this remedy. So now we are living in an era where we have a knowledge, we have a desire to help, we have our instruments, but we are restricted by bringing some remedy to the person. As you told me a few stories before we started this interview. So, and when we discovered there is a possibility just to send a file with information, with energetic information, with information of homeopathic remedy, and it helped so many people during these last months. So first thing as a homeopath now, we decided we have to prove it. We have to put it in our homeopathic scientific way to see what's going on and on what levels it influences and for how long. And we know from our book how to do it. So I'm very glad that you agreed to participate in this as well. And actually it will be our second project. We didn't know that we come in together, but it spread all over. What you did during your service with Homeopathy Help Now, when you didn't have a possibility to give remedies to the person or to invite remedies from the pharmacy, I am sure that you get such problems as well.
Yeah, we did. So, and we didn't have as clever a solution as you did. But what we did was we created a service to get remedies to people. And so using social media and a lot of our students, so we have a school teaching homeopathy students, foundation studies. And so a number of our students are involved on the helpline on the administrative side. And so a group of them were tasked with creating a survey to send out to all of the contacts that we have and to put on social media to get people to respond to us to say, of the remedies that we are considering, like sort of the very broad scope of potential genus epidemicus remedies. We had a list of, I don't know, probably 30 or so remedies. Do you have them? What potencies do you have, and will you share them? And then one of our students created a map, and determining where people were on the map would match a person with another person who would take the remedy to them. We also utilized not-for-profit services that were helping people during the crisis. And they were doing things like picking up, you know, things from a pharmacy or from a grocery store and delivering them. They would just go and pick up the remedy and take it to someone as well. So we first we would try to get it from a homeopathic pharmacy. If we couldn't get it, we would go to other homeopaths close by or other, you know, shops that sell homeopathic remedies. And if all else fails, we would just put it out to the community at large. And it was amazing. People would just turn up and deliver remedies. We had people driving an hour for someone they didn't even know to take a remedy and deliver it. It was really beautiful.
It was really touchy. It was, we had it the same. We announced in Facebook some questions that we have to give some homeopathic remedy in some city in Russia. It was like just an attempt to see will we have a reaction. It was a post with hundreds of reactions, and people created a net of homeopathic kits, and everybody was ready to share. It was so nice to see, and but nevertheless, even with good feeling, sometimes we didn't have an opportunity to send or to bring remedy as soon as possible as we need, and then we started to use these digital remedies, and it was fantastic. By the way, I would like to stress that we are in the beginning of checking this field. We are not running to remove all homeopathic pharmacies and to become only digital remedies. Not at all, absolutely not. But we don't want to stay out of the movement. We want to be dynamic. We want to be not modern by any price, but this is technology. If it works, why not to use it? So we will check, and we will share this knowledge, like we share knowledge of what went about COVID patients. As you remember, we arranged several online conferences, and we share knowledge there. So one of the next conferences we arranged at 12th of July will be the International Online Conference of Restoration of Vitality and Functions after coronavirus, after COVID-19. And I had the pleasure to invite you. And I would like to ask you in few words, what will you talk about?
So I'm still thinking about it. And actually, after you and I finish, I'm speaking to one of the first clients that we saw on the helpline who is having a relapse now after a few months. And so I'm curious in the next few days as I look at the clients who had been doing better and aren't, and the ones who have just had a slow coming back into health. I think it may be looking at some of those cases. That's what I've been thinking about. But I've also been thinking about the evolution of homeopathy health now. And because we've been spending a lot of time thinking about, okay, so what do we do when the sort of crisis point is over? We've got this incredible infrastructure in place and this international alliance in place. We don't want that to end. And our students are so excited to continue working together. Everybody's loving it. So we're trying to sort of manifest the next incarnation of it. And that's probably more what I'll talk about.
Wow, it will be very interesting because we are dealing now with the same questions. We have a lot of volunteers and they don't want to stop and they want to continue, and some relationship, some homeopathic relationship created. And it's so interesting on this line, the everyday, it's kind of everyday homeopathic education. By the way, Denise, by the way, I know that the topic of homeopathic education is very close to your heart.
Yeah.
can you tell a few words about your school and your approach for homeopathic education?
Oh, I would love to. I have the privilege of running a fairly large homeopathy school. We have more than 100 enrolled students at any time, and that's unusual in the United States in homeopathy education. So I've been running the program since it was an offshoot of a school in London, and I taught there from the beginning, and I started directing the program in 2013, and then I took it over fully in 2015. And that meant that I had the opportunity to, we have this expression, put your money where your mouth is. Do you know this expression? Yeah. So I had to really think about what were, as a person who had taught for a lot of schools, it's easy if you just go in and teach at somebody else's school, oh, I like this, I don't like that, and oh, their students don't graduate practicing well, and you can have a lot of opinions. And then now I have to show up and really make it work. And so my partner in the school is Alistair Gray, and he and I had spent quite a bit of time talking about what are the things that make a successful homeopath? Why is it that some people study hard, smart people, they spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, and then they graduate, they don't practice. And we need them. We need people to be practicing. That's the only way that our profession is going to really, kind of get to the next level. And so we thought of a couple of things. The first thing is that we needed to recruit students who wanted not just to learn homeopathy, but who wanted homeopathy to be their job. And so we also felt the secondary benefit of that is that they're going to make the legal changes that we need. These are people who are going to fight for it. It's been my only career for most of my adult life. I raised my kids as a homeopath. I had to be successful at it. So we felt like we needed more men, young men who were going to be raising their families as homeopaths. They were going to help us to push our cause. So that was one thing. The second thing was, okay, so what makes a successful homeopath other than just the drive to be successful is clinical training. You have to see lots of people. And I know that there's good homeopathy in Israel and really good homeopathy education. And we have good homeopathy education in the United States, but I think there's not enough of it. And the thing that was really missing from many schools is not enough clinical training. And so we decided that our students would be participating in clinical training from the beginning. So on the third day of school, they're seeing clinic. That way, it's not just an intellectual exercise. They understand what the process is. And by doing it over and over and over and seeing the application and the outcome, there's less of that kind of airy chat about it and more practical principles and application of philosophy. So we do, our students do 50 days in our clinic before they go into supervision. And there are a lot of schools where you watch videotapes. Just watch a video of somebody's success story. I don't want that person to be my homeopath. I want my students to see when we do well and when we don't do well, because not every case is a miracle. Sometimes it's the long-term case management. So we focus so much on that. The first consult, if we joke that if you graduate from a homeopathy school and you can't do the first consult and give the first remedy, they should give you your money back and give you a pony, because that's just, and send you on a vacation. You've got to be able to do that. But what do you do in a year? What do you do in 2 years? How do you deal with complex autoimmune disease? I mean, that's what most of my practice looks like, is really complex cases. Most of them are not a one and done remedy. Every now and again, to keep you in the game, you get those miracles. But a lot of it is just over time unraveling chronic disease, right? So our focus on education is long-term case management and also research. So everything that we do in our clinic, just like with Homeopathy Help Now, everything that we do is outcomes-based clinical research. So we have a vetted survey that we do after each consultation. So in our teaching clinic, we have well over 200 cases that we are working with, making sure that everything in the write-ups of the case, in all of the post-analysis, that everything is working toward peer-reviewed publication. So those are the things that are really important.
So interesting. You mentioned one very serious problem in homeopathy all around the world. Most of the students, most of the homeopathic students, they don't become homeopaths. They just have a diploma, maybe a certificate, maybe they will try or even not try. And we have to handle this, and we have to give to the new generations the possibility to take experience of the previous and so on and so on. Yeah. So I hope we can do something together in this field as well. And now for the end of our short talk, I would like to ask you, what was the most striking case during Homeopathy Help Now for you? Or something that you can say, wow, I see it.
The most striking case, gosh.
I saw it.
Well, there was this one case of a person who did not believe in homeopathy, not at all, but she has a friend who is a student of mine. And her friend said, you really should do this. This woman had been sick, I don't know, 3 weeks or so. And she was in bad shape. One of those people where you couldn't even get the consult with her because she was too weak to hold up the telephone. How many times do people say, I feel so weak, to even talk on the phone was too much. So finally getting her case, but such a limited amount of information, you know, and it turned out she had very terrible autoimmune disease. She has 3 autoimmune diseases. And so I thought, she doesn't have enough vitality to respond to the remedy, right? The remedy doesn't do it. It's the vital force in response to the message. And I thought, she's got nothing, you know, I'll do what I can. I did not have an expectation. So like you were saying before about when you don't have a remedy, what do? So sometimes we give the next best remedy. So I gave her what was available. She took some phosphorus and it was good. And she got a response. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then the phosphorus, not so good. Gave her phosphoric acid. It was good. And she said, wow, I feel like some of my autoimmune stuff is a little bit better even. I have some energy. And then now I'm embarrassed to say, I can't remember. Oh no, I remember, it was oxygen. So by now we were able to get her the remedy. I gave her oxygen, not so good. And then, now wait, I have to look it up because I knew I was going to forget the last remedy. It was, here we go. I keep her case on my desktop because it was astounding to me. Oh, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, 30C, 1 dose. She said, she perked up, boing, like this. So all the other remedies, good. Oxygen, actually not so good. But she took carbon dioxide and she said, I sat up and I thought, I feel good again. I feel like myself again. And that case, that's the one, if you remember when I did the little presentation for the meeting that you had, and I had a picture of a woman holding a tray and it said fever free for 3 days. It's her case. And she has been doing well since. Like, she's still feeling good. A person who chronically had been in such a state that I didn't actually think she was going to have any improvement. So I think when all this is over, that's the case that I will carry with me of sort of the hope in homeopathy. You know, like these people where you go, I don't know, we'll see. You try your best, and then some really good hit, and their vital force responds, and you think there's no gas left in the tank, no petrol left in the tank, and next thing you know, they're just, you know, speeding off and doing well.
Homeopathy is a miracle, and we have a privilege to touch this miracle every day.
Don't we?
And to share this miracle with our clients.
Yeah.
Denise, thank you so much for this conversation. And I hope it will be only the first one, and we will continue. Thank you very, very much.
I really appreciate it. I'm so happy we're getting to know each other.
I'm happy too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.